So once again, it's a great privilege for us to be able to use art like this, and I think, you know, sometimes it's much more expressive. But we're gonna talk over this weekend a lot about the legal strategies, what you need to get. You know, we'll have on Sunday a room for each country where you learn how to maneuver all these obstacles. But this film was possible because there are obstacles. So Sjors, when the woman that got divorced from her husband in the film, they had a birth certificate. They didn't need to, you know, have lawyers in every, you know, step of their way. So what are the legal challenges we have in Europe?
Well, in the Netherlands, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, I recognize a lot of anger, frustration, fear, and helplessness from the guy who picked up his daughter, because it's his daughter. If you see how they were cuddling at the end, yeah, it was just not different than if you were biological or not biological parents. So I recognize a lot of feelings that he showed. So that's to be said. And I recognize on personal level too that we had some troubles. For our instance, on a legal part, we were in the first year, I think, not the legal parents. Both my partner and me weren't the legal parents of our son. So when we went to the child service center to get him vaccinated, his birth mother had to come 2 hours with the train. She had just delivered from her son. She had to come 2 hours from a train to say yes to a nurse and go back 2 hours with the train to her home. That is just frustrating, that the feeling that you aren't being taken serious, that is frustrating. And yeah, a lot of feelings that he showed in the documentary, I feel them too. So, that's not a nice feeling, because you want to protect your family, you want to protect your child. And one of the basic things is, that you are accepted in country legally, and you are safe. You have a safe, ground under your feet, that you know you can say yes to a nurse and she helps you. So there are, the legal system in the Netherlands, I'm not a legal person, so I'm not a lawyer, but it is difficult, and it's, I can say the legal system in the Netherlands changes almost every week, I think, because then a judge says A and a judge says B, and all the lawyers say, hey, your colleague said A, so we're gonna do it that way. So I think every week or 2 weeks or a month, the legal system changed. And we are in the Netherlands right now, there has been a state committee that advised a lot of points or recommendations to the government in 2014 to change the law, to protect the intended parents, to protect the surrogates, egg donors, and of course the children, to protect them that when certain steps have been taken, so you have to go to a counselor, you have to go to an information meeting or whatever, and a lawyer, and the judge says, okay, you can start with insemination or creating your dream. Then from the date of the birth, you are, as the intended parents, the legal parents of the children. So everyone is covered legally.
These are just recommendations at this point.
Recommendations.
They haven't been legislated.
No, they've been busy, but I don't know when the law is going to come. So our government is demissionary. I don't know the English word, sorry. Yeah, there is no government right now, so they're creating a government, so we have to wait.
That's normal in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, so, but discrimination, I feel them. And also in kindergarten, we have one situation where our son was coughing a lot before COVID, thank God. He was coughing a lot and I was called to pick him up. So I was picking him up, and the woman who works at the kindergarten, we knew her, both my husband and I, because he brought him to it. And I picked him up. She knows our situation, 2 dads and a child. And she asked when I picked him up Maybe his mother knows what he has. Maybe his mother should help you or something. No. With all due respect, she knows him and we have a lot of contact, but she doesn't know exactly how to comfort our son.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get back to some of these points if needed, but Cedric, maybe if you can get the mic, this mic. We said the challenges, I mean, the Netherlands, there's really some hope that maybe they will allow domestic surrogacy more, openly, more straightforward. There are different challenges in France. So what are the legal challenges? I mean, we're all vulnerable to some extent, but can you talk a little bit, give examples in France?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I have to say that this film is horrible. Is thanks for the director who has made that, because it shows the reality, and I hope that nobody in this room will get to face that, because this is purely horrible. But what I have to say as well is that things are getting better and better, so we can get a little bit of hope on how gay parents with surrogacy are accepted in the normal day-to-day life. We've done with the APGL recently a study whereby we have asked our members about how in their day-to-day life it is working for them, whereby it's putting their child in the nursery, how they are accepted at school, how they are accepted in health insurance, how they are making things happening for different administrative things, and largely more than 70%, the people have no or very little issues on getting those administrative things to happen. The only problem in France that still is about recognition of the birth certificate, or I mean transcription of the birth certificate into the French law, and this is where the main problem is. I kind of tend to what my colleague says about, I mean, how is it just difficult to hear always, you are the father, but who is the biological father? And say, well, we're both the father. Yeah, you're both the father, but who is the biological father?
Who's the real one?
That's really insane, and we definitely have to fight against this, because I mean, in these adventures, in these things, I mean, we are two parents, and this is the most important. So it's really important that we face that.
But there's also parental leave that was just
so social advantages or social rights are happening also in France. So there's recently the new parental, the new father leave that has been extended for 30 days, and everyone can benefit for that. There's nothing mentioned in the law, so it's kind of a large leave, but a lot of the time, and it's only one of the father that has this parental leave and not the other one. So there's still some things to do, but there are really I would say that it's getting better and better, and I think intended parents and further parents are also to help and educate on what surrogacy is, because when you think about surrogacy, when you talk about surrogacy, the first thing people might say is, oh, that's something that we should not even think about. And then when you explain what it is, when you explain all of the process and all what it's all about, then people change mind. I think recently in France there has been 60% of the people that says that there will be for at least a discussion, and this is what we are pushing in France, at least a discussion, a debate, and think more than a debate on having a surrogacy happening in France. So things are moving.
Tobias, can you talk a little bit, if you can add something about relevant to Germany, day-to-day, as well as what are the realistic legislative goals in Germany as far as surrogacy?
Of course. So from the daily perspective, there's nearly no limits. My husband and I, we have 2 kids now, and we have no problems at all. So it's accepted as long as you talk honestly about it and just say how it is, because people are always asking when they ask, and when they don't ask, they are just curious. And sometimes I break this curiosity and say how it is, because we made good experience just educating people, and then they understand, or they don't have to accept, but they can tolerate it, and they can go home with a more informed perspective on surrogacy. And from a legal perspective, all the LGBT or the gay couples use a gray zone, I would say, to get acknowledgement of their parental rights and being officially the parents of the baby. That works, but it's different in every state and in every city, because there are different people working and with different mindset, and then you have to educate those people. We had 2 different cities because we moved in between the two babies, and it's completely different. So just be awake and talk early with people. Maybe you know someone and you can just manage to inform them before you come there with the baby and they are completely out of order.
So the picture we're seeing here is that, first of all, we're so glad we could be parents. So for the first reaction is, yeah, you know, I'm not going to worry about the legal rights. I'll take care of it later, you know, because that's the way it is. I mean, you want to have a family. And then we have obstacles, and then we're vulnerable. And if somebody's nice to us, then it's good. But being vulnerable legally means that all of a sudden a nursery school teacher holds all the power in the world. For your child, you're it. You're their life. And all of a sudden, somebody like this, somebody at the border, somebody who's a civil servant who's supposed to help you with your paperwork to get your rights, all these things are the consequence of you being in the gray zone. We're not official. So we're very happy that we have nobody's child was ever taken away from them. Okay, that's not going to happen. But I think what we're talking about here is the fact that we're recognizing that it doesn't have to be like this. We're vulnerable in a way that, you know, there could be punitive, you know, administrative, random actions against us, and it also costs us more. You all probably had to use the, you know, at least some of you, the services of lawyers to do things that other people don't have to spend a penny on, because it takes a long time. Sometimes it could take less, sometimes it could take longer. And we have people, you learn over the weekend, it's called GPAP, the Gay Parenting Assistance Program. So we have couples from Europe as well. And we have 2 couples in the Netherlands. They had their children at the same time. One of them got their rights and the documents like this. The other one didn't, because the person who was dealing with it didn't like it. So now they're not going to be able to prevent them from getting their parental rights eventually, but they can make their lives difficult. So I think the other thing we want to talk about briefly before we move on to try to talk about the solutions is the fact that a lot of this sounds a little bit like how we had to fight, at least those of us who are older here, for our rights as gay men. You know, there used to be, of course, times when we couldn't marry, when we couldn't have social security and health benefits, and all those things. And it felt like, you know, we were in a gray zone. We had to, you know, find all kinds of solutions, but also like people thought, or at least the society or those who were not so happy about us, that if they make our lives difficult, we're just going to go away. You know, if we're not going to have health benefits, we're just going to stop being gay. And that didn't work very well for them. But they basically, you know, punished us in a way. But now there's children. If you watch this film, it was the right of that daughter. Her rights were taken away from her. It's not just us. It's not the father. Her right to have a father, her right to have parents, her right to have a family from the day of birth. That is a very, very fundamental right. And that is how it is different than when we were fighting for our own rights as gay men. And I want to just, I know none of you have kids that are really old enough, but you must have witnessed some very harsh language being used when people are talking against surrogacy. So first of all, maybe you can talk about it, but I guess you all did. I mean, you're all European. You must have turned on the television every now and then, or your phones, or whatever, and saw a debate about it. Did you ever think what would happen if your children heard that? How do you feel about it? I mean, Fabian, it's going to be in a year or two, or go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe some examples. Social media, do not read the comments. But if you do read the comments, and we are, sometimes on the news or newspapers or on television, as a couple with the child, we sometimes do read the comments. Get some wine next to the computer. No, there are a lot of supportive reactions. So, oh, this is beautiful, what a happy family. This is nice that it can be there in 2021 in the Netherlands. Wow, that's great. But a lot of negative reactions. This shouldn't be possible. This is creating a kid. The mother must be paid thousands of dollars extra to get herself a boat or a yacht or a vacation or an extra house, or and then I think that it gives me strength to move on, because I see that it is necessary that we are in the media and that we are there, that we exist, that there are families like us, and to move on and fight for it. So that is the reason why we chose to get in the media. But sometimes when it comes to reactions from other people or anonymous people or known people, that can hurt me when they say, for example, personally to us, so Sjors, you have to, what did you do? This is terrible. You created Tom, that's my son, and the only thing you can do right now is damage control, because you hurt him on purpose. And that hurts me, because we are his parents, not different than our neighbors. Yes, we are two men, but that's all. That's also, it hurts me, but also gives me strength to move on and to keep fighting to change the perspective of people.
Anybody else, please?
I can share something. It happened 2 years ago at the Men Having Baby conference in person. And I came here with my daughter, and she was 4 years old at this time. And there was a group of protesters.
They're going to be here tomorrow too.
Yeah,
on the other side of the street.
And there were only 10 of them, but they were really loud, with signs against surrogacy. And to get into the building, we had to go through the line, the form. So I was holding the hand of my daughter with all these signs, and it hurts, obviously, but it was also a time for me to explain to my daughter that some people are against surrogacy, because first, I think you as a parents, we try to protect as much as possible our children, and in fact, it's maybe always better to explain things, and that the world is not always amazing and beautiful, and they have to face issues. So to prevent any damages and to have fake ideas, I think it was a good time for me to explain that not everyone surrogacy. And at this 2 years ago, our surrogate was here to talk about her own story. And when she saw the protester with the sign and say, protecting women, freedom for women, and say, look at them, they are talking about you. I said, but they don't know me at all. So we went to them and we talked a bit. And I said, well, and she explained how she, what she think about them and how she feel about her own journey, which was a wonderful journey, and it was an amazing thing, and we're still in touch, obviously. So yeah, I think it's always better to speak about everything, and like the world is not always a great world. So.
Yeah, so we decided to go into media as well because we want to educate people to be not this uninformed when they talk or hear surrogacy. They don't talk about it, but they hear about it and always have these prejudices and stereotypes and so on. So, and I think it's you can break it down to three main consequences. They say it's exploitation of women, or you buy a child, or you're very egoistic to have a child via surrogacy. And the last point is really hurting my husband and me because everyone should have the right to have children. And when it's this way, we want it. We want our own biological children, then it's our right to do it or to have one. And it's difficult to explain, or you directly feel you have to explain why you did it, but it's the wrong way. You just have to say, I'm self-confident, I want to be dad, and I want to be dad as my heterosexual friend has his family, and yeah, just go one step back when you read comments or so, and just say, what's my position and what's my dream, and then you have to focus on your life, and afterwards you can just move on with a better feeling. It's always a mixture of being heard and being self-confident and live your dream. Yeah.
Go ahead, Cedric.
I think also, I mean, nature is always afraid of what they don't know. So it's always when people don't know that they have the worst words about it. And I think talking about words, I mean, in English, you have this word, which is surrogacy, which has a bad connotation, but it's a word that explains what it is. In all different languages, and especially in France, it's an expression that is translated through this word. And this expression is getting a connotation that is even worse than the word surrogacy. So then when you have people talking about surrogacy, it's in this expression, it's all of the different words that make this expression is giving a bad connotation. So maybe also idea is to, I mean, why not invent a new word in each of the countries to explain exactly and have a positive connotation about what surrogacy is.